She discovered her millionaire husband's affair from a hidden CCTV. What she did next shattered. She told herself she was being crazy. Successful men work hard. Real estate deals happen at all hours. Daniel loved her. Monica thought she was being paranoid. Turns out, she wasn't paranoid enough. Have you ever had that gut feeling something was wrong, but hoped you were paranoid? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. She pressed play on the security footage at 11:47 p.m., expecting to catch their housekeeper stealing jewelry. Instead, she watched her husband destroy their marriage in high definition. Monica Chin-Williams sat frozen in her marble kitchen, laptop screen casting blue shadows across her face as she stared at impossible images. There was Daniel, her husband of 5 years, pulling another woman against him on their Italian leather sofa. The same couch where they'd planned their vacation to Greece just 12 hours earlier. The timestamp showed Tuesday, 9:23 p.m. She remembered that night perfectly. Daniel had texted saying he was working late at the office, closing a major real estate deal in Austin. She'd fallen asleep reading marketing reports, trusting him completely. Trust. The word tasted bitter now. The woman in the video had dark hair, curves that pressed against Daniel's chest as he kissed her neck. Monica's wedding ring suddenly felt like it weighed 50 pounds. Her chest tightened until breathing became work. She knew that laugh. Soft, musical, familiar. Monica rewound the footage, heart hammering against her ribs. The woman turned slightly, profile catching the lamplight. Sarah Mitchell, her former colleague from the Atlanta marketing firm. The woman who'd helped Monica land her dream job in Dallas. The friend who'd been a bridesmaid at their wedding. "Oh God," Monica whispered, hand flying to her mouth. The laptop screen showed Daniel's hands roaming Sarah's body, intimate touches that belonged to Monica alone. His voice carried clearly through the audio. "I've wanted this for months." Monica never has to know. Those words hit like physical blows. Monica slammed the laptop shut, but the damage was done. The images burned behind her closed eyes. Their house, worth $2 million in the heart of Dallas, suddenly felt like a prison. Wedding photos smiled down from the walls, mocking her with their happiness. The kitchen island where she'd surprised Daniel with breakfast last Sunday now seemed like a stage for lies. Have you ever had that gut feeling something was wrong, but hoped you were paranoid? That voice in your head that whispers warnings while your heart begs you to ignore them? Monica had felt it for months. Late nights, hushed phone calls, credit card charges from restaurants she'd never been to. She told herself she was being crazy. Successful men work hard. Real estate deals happen at all hours. Daniel loved her. Monica thought she was being paranoid. Turns out, she wasn't paranoid enough. The grandfather clock in their living room chimed midnight. In 6 hours, Daniel would walk through that door, kiss her good morning, and pretend to be the faithful husband she believed in completely. Her phone buzzed against the marble countertop. A text from Daniel. "Working late again tonight, baby. Don't wait up. Love you." The timestamp showed he'd sent it at 9:20 p.m. 3 minutes before the security footage showed him pressing Sarah against their couch. Monica stared at the message, rage building like pressure in a kettle. He wasn't just cheating. He was lying to her face while it happened. What would you do with proof of betrayal in your hands? Would you scream? Cry? Confront him immediately? Monica did none of those things. Instead, she opened the laptop again and saved the video file to 3 different locations. Then she created a new folder labeled Evidence and began planning. If you've ever questioned your intuition about someone you love, hit that like button. This story is about to get intense. Daniel thought he was smart, covering his tracks with late-night lies and careful alibis. But he'd forgotten one crucial detail about the woman he married. Monica had built her marketing career by understanding human behavior, reading between lines, and crafting strategies that got results. She was about to give him the education of his lifetime. As she closed the laptop, Monica caught her reflection in the black screen. The woman staring back looked different somehow. Sharper, more dangerous. Her wedding ring caught the kitchen light, diamonds sparkling like tears she refused to shed. 5 years of marriage, 3 years of trying for children, countless nights supporting Daniel's business dreams. All of it built on lies. Monica walked upstairs to their bedroom, mind already working through possibilities. She could hear Daniel's car pulling into the driveway, gravel crunching under expensive tires. As she slipped under silk sheets that smelled like his cologne, Monica's phone buzzed with another text from Daniel. Just got home. You looked beautiful sleeping. See you in the morning. The timestamp showed he'd send it while sitting in their driveway, probably checking his reflection before coming inside to lie to her face. That's when she smiled for the first time in hours, not from happiness, but from something far more dangerous. Daniel had taught her exactly what kind of game they were playing. Now, she was going to teach him how it ended. She made him breakfast the next morning like nothing happened, watching him eat while planning his destruction one bite at a time. Steam rose from Daniel's coffee mug as Monica set it down beside his plate of scrambled eggs and bacon. Her hands remained steady despite the fury burning beneath her skin. She'd practiced this moment since 5 a.m., rehearsing every smile, every casual comment. Sleep well? She asked, pouring herself orange juice. Daniel looked up from his phone, blue eyes bright with false innocence. The same eyes that had looked at Sarah with hunger 12 hours ago. Like a rock. That Austin deal is finally closing today. He reached over and squeezed her hand. Sorry I was so late. You know how these investors can be. Monica nodded sympathetically, letting his lies wash over her like rain. I'm proud of you. Working so hard for our future. Our future. The words tasted like poison. Daniel smiled, that $1 million grin that had charmed her at a Miami conference 5 years ago. Back then, she thought she was the luckiest woman alive. A successful real estate mogul who looked like a movie star, choosing her over all the other options. Now she wondered how many other women had fallen for the same routine. I love you, he said, kissing her cheek before heading to the shower. The same lips that had whispered promises to another woman. Monica waited until she heard water running upstairs, then pulled out her phone and dialed. Rodriguez Investigations. How can I help you? I need to hire someone, Monica said quietly. Today. 2 hours later, she sat across from Detective Marcus Rodriguez in his downtown office. File cabinets lined the walls like monuments to broken marriages and shattered trust. What exactly are you looking for, Mrs. Williams? Rodriguez asked, pen poised over a yellow legal pad. Monica slid a printed screenshot across his desk. Daniel and Sarah, caught in their intimate moment. I want to know everything. How long this has been going on. If there are others. Where they meet. Rodriguez studied the image, expression neutral. 20 years of private investigation had shown him every type of betrayal. Cheating spouse case. Pretty standard. What's your timeline? Fast, Monica said. I'm planning something special for our anniversary party next month. Something in her tone made Rodriguez look up sharply. Ma'am, I hope you're not planning anything. Illegal? Of course not. Monica's smile could have cut steel. I just want all my facts straight before I make any major decisions about my marriage. She wrote him a check for $5,000. Retainer fee. That evening, Daniel came home with flowers. 24 red roses, probably purchased from the same florist where he bought Sarah's gifts. What's the occasion? Monica asked, accepting the bouquet with practiced grace. Can't a man spoil his beautiful wife? Daniel pulled her close, cologne overwhelming her senses. I was thinking we could have dinner Friday night. Maybe invite some friends over. Monica's pulse quickened. Anyone specific in mind? Sarah Mitchell called today. Said she's in town for business. Thought it might be nice to catch up. How long could you pretend everything was normal while planning your revenge? Could you smile at someone who betrayed you? Make small talk with the person destroying your marriage? Monica discovered she was stronger than she'd ever imagined. That sounds wonderful, she said, voice sweet as honey. I'll cook her favorite dish. What Daniel didn't know was that Monica had already decided exactly what Sarah would be served, and it wasn't food. Friday arrived like Christmas morning. Monica spent the day preparing, choosing her outfit carefully. The black dress Daniel had bought her for their first anniversary. Low neckline, fitted waist, the kind of dress that reminded him why he'd married her. She wanted him to remember what he was losing. Sarah arrived at 7 sharp, carrying wine and wearing guilt like cheap perfume. Monica welcomed her with a hug that lasted just long enough to feel the other woman's tension. "You look amazing," Sarah said, voice too bright. "Marriage agrees with you." The irony was delicious. Dinner conversation flowed like they were old friends. Sarah complimented the salmon. Daniel opened expensive wine. Monica played the perfect hostess. 3 people sitting around a table, 2 of them sharing secrets, one of them holding all the cards. Tell me in the comments, are you a confronter or a strategist? Would you explode in the moment or plan your revenge carefully? Monica watched Sarah's hands shake slightly when she reached for her wine glass. Watched Daniel's eyes dart between them, sensing undercurrents he couldn't identify. Subscribe now, because Monica's about to teach a masterclass in patience and payback. As the evening wound down, Sarah mentioned needing to leave early. "Big presentation tomorrow," she said, avoiding Monica's eyes. "Of course," Monica replied. "Work comes first." Daniel understands that better than anyone. When Daniel mentioned Sarah joining them for dinner again next week, Monica's grip on her coffee cup tightened until her knuckles went white. "That sounds wonderful," she said, voice sweet as honey. "I'll make her favorite dish." What Daniel didn't know was that Monica had already decided exactly what Sarah would be served, and it wasn't food. It was justice, served cold, with a side of public humiliation that would end both their careers and reputations forever. The game was just beginning. She hired a private investigator, not to confirm what she already knew, but to discover what she didn't, and what she found made the affair look like child's play. Rodriguez's office smelled like leather and stale coffee, case files stacked on every available surface. Monica sat across from him, wedding ring twisted around her finger as he spread photographs and bank statements across the scratched wooden desk. "Your husband's been busy," Rodriguez said, voice grim. But not just with women. The first photograph showed Daniel entering a downtown Houston bank with Sarah, both carrying leather briefcases. The timestamp read 3 days ago, 2:47 p.m. "Joint account?" Monica asked, though she already knew the answer would be worse. 3 of them, all opened in the last 18 months. Rodriguez slid bank statements toward her. "Your husband and Ms. Mitchell have been moving significant amounts of money through these accounts. Money that doesn't match his declared business income." Monica's chest tightened as she scanned the numbers. Deposits of $50,000, $75,000, sometimes over $100,000. Always in cash. Always followed by immediate transfers to offshore accounts. "Where's this coming from?" Rodriguez pulled out another stack of papers. "That's where things get interesting. Your husband's been selling properties to shell companies, then buying them back at inflated prices. Classic money laundering setup." The room seemed to spin slightly. Monica gripped the edge of the desk. "Money laundering? Gets better. Those shell companies? They're connected to a group the FBI has been watching for 2 years. Drug money mostly. Mexican cartels looking to clean their cash through legitimate real estate deals." Monica stared at the evidence spread before her. Bank statements, photographs, transaction records. Her husband wasn't just cheating, he was a criminal. How much are we talking about? Conservative estimate? Your husband has processed about $12 million in dirty money over the past 2 years. $12 million. Monica thought about their life. The mansion, the cars, the expensive vacations. How much of it was built on blood money? Her stomach lurched. "I think I'm going to be sick." Rodriguez handed her a bottle of water. "There's more." "More? How could there possibly be more?" "Your husband's business partner, James Crawford, has been cooperating with federal agents for 6 months. Deal went bad, someone got killed in Houston, and Crawford decided he didn't want to end up the same way." Monica's hand shook as she opened the water bottle. What does that mean for Daniel? FBI's building a case. They've got financial records, recorded conversations, photographic evidence. Your husband's going down, Mrs. Williams. Question is whether you're going down with him. The words hit like cold water. Me? I didn't know anything about this. IRS doesn't care what you knew. Joint tax returns, shared accounts, your name on property deeds. They'll freeze everything, investigate everyone. Monica thought about their upcoming anniversary party. 200 guests, including Daniel's biggest investors, city officials, media contacts. All of them about to discover that Dallas's golden couple was built on lies and drug money. What's worse, emotional betrayal or financial crimes that could destroy your life? Have you ever discovered someone wasn't who you thought they were? What are my options? Monica asked. Rodriguez leaned back in his chair. 3 choices: run, hide, or cooperate. Cooperate how? FBI wants your husband. They've got most of what they need, but inside information would seal the case. Someone with access to his files, his computer, his schedule. Someone like his wife. Monica stared at the photographs of Daniel and Sarah entering the bank. 2 people she'd trusted completely, both living double lives. Both using her as cover for their crimes. What would I have to do? We're a wire. Record conversations. Copy files. Basic surveillance work. The idea terrified and thrilled her simultaneously. And if I say no, then you pray the FBI believes you're innocent when they arrest your husband. Prison Orange isn't a good look on anyone. This story is about to explode. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. Monica drove home in a daze, Rodriguez's business card burning in her purse. The FBI wanted her to spy on her own husband, to gather evidence that would send him to federal prison for 20 years. She pulled into their circular driveway, mansion looming like a monument to deception. Everything she believed about their life was a lie. Daniel's car was already there. She found him in his office, typing furiously on his laptop. He looked up when she entered, smile bright and false. "Hey, beautiful. How was your day?" Monica forced herself to smile back. "Fine. Just ran some errands." She studied his face, looking for signs of the criminal Rodriguez had described. But Daniel looked the same as always. Handsome, confident, completely normal. "Listen," he said, closing the laptop quickly. "I might need to travel more over the next few weeks. Some deals heating up in Austin and Houston. More lies. More opportunities to move dirty money while she stayed home playing the faithful wife." "Of course," Monica said. "Whatever you need." That night, she lay awake staring at the ceiling while Daniel slept peacefully beside her. Her husband, the man she planned to have children with, grow old with, was a criminal, a money launderer for drug cartels. The phone's glow illuminated Daniel's face as he whispered into it at 2 a.m. "Yeah, Crawford's getting nervous. We might need to accelerate the timeline." Monica kept her breathing steady, pretending to sleep while her world crumbled around her. When Daniel finally hung up and sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands, she almost felt sorry for him. Almost. The PI slid one final photograph across the desk. Daniel and Sarah entering a Houston bank together, carrying briefcases. "This was taken 3 days ago," he said quietly. "Whatever they're doing, they're accelerating the timeline." Monica stared at the image, realizing she wasn't just fighting for her marriage anymore. She was racing against time. And tomorrow, she would call Agent Rodriguez and agree to help the FBI destroy the man she'd once loved more than life itself. Sarah walked into Monica's dining room wearing the necklace Daniel had claimed was lost, and Monica welcomed her with a smile that could cut glass. The sapphire pendant caught the candlelight as Sarah moved, blue stones that matched the bracelet Daniel had given Monica for their 3rd anniversary. Except Monica's bracelet was supposedly one of a kind, custom designed just for her. "Sarah, you look stunning," Monica said, air kissing both cheeks like they were still best friends. "That necklace is gorgeous. Very unique." Sarah's hand flew to her throat, fingers covering the jewelry. "Oh, this old thing? Just something I picked up. Just something she picked up." For Monica's husband, using money stolen from drug cartels. Daniel appeared behind them, wine bottle in hand, completely oblivious to the tension crackling between the 2 women. "Ladies, you both look incredible. Sarah, that dress is perfect on you." Monica watched her husband compliment his mistress in their dining room, surrounded by wedding photos and anniversary gifts. The audacity was breathtaking. Crystal glasses caught the candlelight as Monica served wine, each movement precise and graceful. Sarah's laughter sounded forced in the high-ceilinged dining room where family portraits watched like silent judges. "So, Sarah," Monica said, settling into her seat. "How's business? I heard you left the Atlanta firm." Sarah's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "Yes, I decided to go freelance. More flexibility. Freelance money laundering," Monica thought but didn't say. "That's brave. Must be nice having clients who pay well." Daniel shifted in his seat, sensing undercurrents he couldn't identify. "Sarah's been helping me with some marketing strategies for the Austin properties." "Marketing strategies? Is that what they called it now?" "How wonderful," Monica said, voice dripping sweetness. "It's so important to work with people you can trust completely, people who have your best interests at heart." Sarah's wine glass trembled slightly in her hand. "Have you ever had to smile and be polite to someone who betrayed you? How did you handle it? Share your experience below." Monica had spent hours planning this dinner, every detail calculated for maximum psychological impact. The menu featured Sarah's favorite foods, information Monica had gleaned from years of friendship. The wine was expensive, the kind Daniel usually reserved for impressing investors. The setting was intimate, designed to make Sarah feel welcomed and secure. Right before Monica destroyed her completely, "I was just telling Daniel," Monica continued, "how much I miss having close friends nearby. People you can share secrets with. People who really know you." The word secrets hung in the air like smoke. Sarah's breathing became shallow, chest rising and falling beneath the designer dress Daniel had probably bought her. "Yes," Sarah managed. "Friendship is so important, especially when you're far from home," Monica pressed. "It must get lonely traveling so much for work. Do you ever worry about getting too involved with your clients?" Daniel's hand stilled on his wine glass. Even he could sense the danger now. "Monica," he started. "I'm just concerned for Sarah's welfare," Monica said innocently. "Business relationships can get so complicated when personal feelings get involved. Don't you think, Sarah?" Sarah's face had gone pale beneath her makeup. I keep things professional." "Of course you do." Monica's smile could have powered the city. "You're such a moral person. I've always admired that about you. If you're feeling the tension, smash that like button. It's about to get so much worse." The main course arrived, salmon with lemon butter sauce, Sarah's absolute favorite dish. Monica had prepared it perfectly, just like she used to when they were roommates in college. "This is incredible," Sarah said, grateful for the subject change. "You remembered." "I remember everything about the people I care about," Monica replied. "Every detail, every conversation, every confidence shared." Another loaded pause. Daniel was sweating now, though the dining room was perfectly climate-controlled. "Sarah," Monica said suddenly, "would you mind helping me clear the plates? I'd love to catch up privately." Sarah looked trapped, but couldn't refuse without seeming rude. The women walked to the kitchen together, leaving Daniel alone with his growing panic. In the kitchen, Monica moved with deadly calm, stacking plates with surgical precision. Sarah stood frozen by the counter, clutching her wine glass like a shield. "Beautiful necklace," Monica said again, not looking up from the dishes. "Really unique design, almost like it was custom-made." "Monica, the thing about custom jewelry," Monica continued, voice conversational, "is that it's usually one of a kind. Impossible to replicate exactly." Sarah's breathing was audible now, rapid and shallow. "Unless, of course, someone ordered two identical pieces from the same designer. That would be the only explanation for how you could be wearing my anniversary gift." The wine glass slipped from Sarah's fingers, shattering against the marble floor. Red wine spread like blood across the white stone. "I can explain," Sarah whispered. Monica finally looked up, eyes cold as winter. "Oh, I'm sure you can. But the question is, should I let you? Or should I let Daniel explain instead?" Through the doorway, they could see Daniel pacing in the dining room. Phone pressed to his ear, voice urgent and low. "Looks like he's already making calls," Monica observed. "Probably to his FBI contacts." "Oh wait, those would be my contacts now." Sarah's face crumbled. I know everything," Monica said quietly. "The affair, the money laundering, the federal investigation. The only thing I don't know is why you thought you could come into my house, eat my food, and pretend we're still friends. As Sarah reached for her wine glass, her hand trembled slightly. Monica noticed and leaned forward with concern. "Are you feeling all right? You look a little guilty about something." The word hung in the air like poison, and Daniel's fork clattered against his plate. In the distance, thunder rumbled like an approaching storm, and Monica realized she was just getting started. The first crack in Daniel's perfect facade appeared when his business partner called at 2 a.m., voice shaking with panic about federal attention. The phone's glow illuminated Daniel's face in their darkened bedroom, his whispered conversation creating shadows that danced across the walls like secrets trying to escape. Monica lay perfectly still beside him, controlling her breathing, eyes closed but mind razor-sharp. "Crawford, calm down," Daniel hissed into the phone. "What do you mean they're asking questions?" Monica could hear the panic in Crawford's voice through the speaker, words tumbling over each other in terror. Something about FBI agents, surprise visits, documentation requests. "They showed up at my office yesterday," Crawford's voice cracked. "Wanted to see records for the Austin properties. All of them." Daniel sat up straighter, running his free hand through his hair. "What did you tell them?" "Nothing. I told them to talk to my lawyer." "Good. That's good." But Daniel's voice betrayed his fear. "How much do they know?" "I don't know, man. But they mentioned Sarah by name. Asked about her connection to the Houston deals." Monica's pulse quickened. The FBI was closing in faster than anyone expected. Daniel was quiet for a long moment, thinking, "We need to move up the timeline. Transfer everything offshore this week." "This week?" "Daniel, that's impossible. The Hong Kong accounts aren't ready, and—" "Make them ready," Daniel snapped. "I'm not going to prison because you can't handle pressure." "What would you do if you overheard your partner involved in something illegal? Would you run or fight? Tell me in the comments." After Daniel hung up, he sat on the edge of the bed for 20 minutes, head in his hands. The moonlight through their bedroom windows cast him in silver shadows, and for a moment, Monica almost felt sorry for him. Almost. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "Monica, if something happens to me, promise you'll say you never knew anything." She kept her breathing steady and didn't answer, because she was about to ensure something definitely happened to him. The next morning, Daniel left early for emergency meetings. Monica waited until his car disappeared down their tree-lined street, then made a call that would change everything. "Agent Rodriguez, this is Monica Williams. I'm ready to cooperate." 2 hours later, she sat in a downtown federal building, surrounded by computers, whiteboards covered in photographs, and agents who looked like they hadn't slept in weeks. "Your husband's operation is bigger than we initially thought," Agent Rodriguez explained, sliding a thick folder across the conference table. 12 million was conservative. "We're looking at closer to 30 million in processed funds over 3 years. $30 million. Monica's hands shook as she opened the folder, revealing surveillance photos, bank records, and transcripts of recorded conversations. "How long have you been watching him?" 18 months. But we needed someone inside. Someone with access to his computer, his files, his schedule. Agent Rodriguez placed a small device on the table. No bigger than a button, silver and innocuous. Recording device. Latest technology, completely undetectable. "We need you to wear it during conversations with your husband. Get him talking about the money, the offshore accounts, future plans." This is getting intense. Subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss what happens next. Monica stared at the tiny device that would destroy her marriage and send her husband to federal prison. "What happens after you arrest him?" "Asset forfeiture. The house, cars, bank accounts. Everything purchased with dirty money gets seized. You'll need to prove any assets are legitimately yours. Everything they'd built together would disappear. 5 years of marriage, reduced to evidence in federal court." "What about Sarah?" Agent Rodriguez smiled grimly. "Ms. Mitchell will face charges as a co-conspirator. Money laundering, tax evasion, possibly racketeering if we can prove ongoing criminal enterprise." "Good. Sarah deserved everything coming to her." That evening, Monica prepared dinner with extra care. Daniel's favorite meal, steak and lobster, the kind of expensive food that only dirty money could afford regularly. She wore the recording device under her blouse, tiny weight against her chest like a mechanical heartbeat. Daniel came home agitated, tie loosened, jacket wrinkled. He kissed her cheek absently, mind clearly elsewhere. "Rough day?" Monica asked innocently. "Crawford's getting nervous about some business deals. Nothing for you to worry about." Monica poured wine, hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "The Austin properties?" Daniel's head snapped up. "Why do you ask? You mentioned them before. Big profits, right? Must be satisfying to make so much money so quickly." She was fishing, hoping to get him talking about the financial details. The recording device captured every word. "Business is good," Daniel said carefully. "Real estate's always been profitable for people who know what they're doing." Not enough. The FBI needed specifics, numbers, names, admission of criminal activity. Monica tried a different approach. Sarah called today, said she might need to travel out of the country for work. Something about international clients. Daniel's wine glass froze halfway to his lips. "She said that. Is everything okay? You both seem stressed lately. Just business pressure. Nothing you need to worry about." But his eyes told a different story. Fear was eating him alive from the inside. After dinner, as they sat in the living room where she'd first discovered his betrayal, Daniel's phone rang. Crawford again, voice panicked enough that Monica could hear him from across the room. "They're freezing accounts," Crawford said. "The Cayman transfers got flagged." "We're done, Daniel. We're completely done." Daniel looked at Monica, studying her face for any sign that she'd heard. She kept her expression neutral, pretending to read a magazine. "I have to take this," he said, walking toward his office. But it was too late. The recording device had captured everything. Crawford's panic, Daniel's fear, admission that money was being transferred offshore to avoid federal detection. The FBI had what they needed. Tomorrow, Monica would deliver the evidence that would destroy the man she'd once loved more than life itself. As Daniel paced in his office, voice rising in desperate argument with his terrified partner, Monica smiled for the second time since discovering his betrayal. The foundation was cracking. Soon, everything would come crashing down, and she would be standing in the rubble, finally free. She planned their anniversary party like a military operation. Every guest, every detail, every moment designed to detonate Daniel's life in front of everyone who mattered. The Houston ballroom glittered with 1,000 lights, ice sculptures melting slowly in the Texas heat as servers in crisp white uniforms prepared for an evening that would be remembered for all the wrong reasons. Monica stood in the center of it all, directing traffic like a general commanding troops. Flowers here, champagne fountain there, security cameras positioned perfectly to catch every angle of the destruction she was about to unleash. "Mrs. Williams, the projection screen is ready," the AV technician said, adjusting the massive display that dominated one wall. "You sure you want it this big?" Monica smiled, cold and sharp. "I want everyone to see clearly. No detail should be missed." 200 guests were arriving within the hour. Daniel's business partners, city officials, media contacts, family members. Everyone who had believed in the golden couple from Dallas. Everyone who thought they knew who Daniel Williams really was. In her crimson red dress, the same one Daniel had complimented on their first date, Monica felt like a warrior preparing for battle. She caught her reflection in the ballroom's mirrored walls and barely recognized herself. Gone was the trusting wife who had believed every lie. This woman had teeth, and tonight, she was going to use them. Agent Rodriguez appeared at her elbow, dressed like any other guest. Everything ready. Monica touched the recording device hidden in her jewelry. The moment he confesses, you move in. And if he doesn't, he will. Men like Daniel can't resist explaining how clever they think they are. The first guests began arriving at 7 sharp. Daniel's parents from Connecticut, distinguished and proud of their successful son. Monica's mother from Atlanta, beaming with joy for her daughter's happy marriage. Business associates who had made millions following Daniel's investment advice. All of them about to discover the truth. Daniel appeared beside Monica, stunning in his custom tuxedo, confidence radiating from every pore. He had no idea that federal agents were stationed throughout the crowd, that his wife was wearing a wire, that his entire world was about to explode. "You look incredible," he whispered, kissing her neck. "Have I told you lately how lucky I am?" "Lucky?" The word tasted like ash. "You're about to find out exactly how lucky," Monica replied, meaning something entirely different. "If you had the power to expose someone publicly, would you take it? What would drive you to that point? Share your thoughts below." The evening progressed perfectly. Champagne flowed, conversations buzzed with energy, and Daniel worked the room like the master manipulator he was. Monica watched him charm investors, kiss elderly relatives, and play the role of devoted husband with sickening skill. Sarah arrived fashionably late, wearing a black dress that cost more than most people's cars. Monica greeted her with air kisses and venom disguised as sweetness. "Sarah, darling, so glad you can make it. You look expensive tonight." Sarah's smile faltered slightly. "Monica, you've outdone yourself. This party is incredible." "Oh, this is nothing compared to what I've planned for later." At exactly 9 o'clock, Monica took the microphone. The ballroom fell silent, 200 faces turning toward her with expectation and champagne-fueled joy. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for celebrating 5 years of marriage with Daniel and me." Applause rippled through the crowd. Daniel beamed beside her, arm around her waist, completely oblivious to what was coming. "Marriage is about trust," Monica continued, voice carrying clearly through the sound system. "About knowing someone completely. About sharing everything." More applause. Daniel squeezed her hand encouragingly. "Tonight, I want to share something very special with all of you. Something that shows exactly who my husband really is. We're about to witness the most epic public takedown ever. Make sure you're subscribed." Monica nodded to the AV technician. The lights dimmed, and the massive screen flickered to life. At first, the crowd seemed confused. The image was dark, grainy security footage from their living room. Then figures moved into frame, and understanding dawned like a nightmare. Daniel and Sarah tangled together on the Italian leather sofa. Audio crystal clear, every whispered promise, every intimate touch, every betrayal displayed in high definition for 200 shocked witnesses. The ballroom erupted. Gasps echoed off the crystal chandeliers. Champagne glasses froze halfway to lips. Conversations died mid-sentence. On screen, Daniel's voice carried clearly. "I've wanted this for months. Monica never has to know." The Real Daniel stood frozen beside Monica, face draining of color as his affair played out in excruciating detail. Sarah tried to push through the crowd toward the exit, but people blocked her path, staring in horrified fascination. "What the hell?" Daniel lunged for the microphone, but Monica stepped back smoothly. "But wait," she said, voice carrying over the chaos. "That's not even the best part." The screen changed. Bank statements now, financial records, photographs of Daniel and Sarah entering Houston banks with briefcases full of dirty money. "Ladies and gentlemen, meet Daniel Williams, adulterer, money launderer, and federal criminal." The crowd's shock turned to panic. Investors who had trusted Daniel with their money realized they might be accessories to federal crimes. Business partners calculated how quickly they could distance themselves. Family members struggled to process the complete destruction of everything they thought they knew. Daniel grabbed Monica's arm, fingers digging into her skin. "You crazy bitch, what have you done?" "I've told the truth," Monica replied calmly. "Something you've apparently forgotten how to do." Agent Rodriguez moved through the crowd, badge visible now. Other federal agents appearing like ghosts among the guests. If this gave you chills, hit that like button. We're not even close to done. Daniel Williams, you're under arrest for money laundering, tax evasion, and conspiracy to commit federal crimes. The handcuffs clicked around Daniel's wrists with finality. Around them, chaos reigned. Guests pushed toward exits. Reporters scrambled for quotes. Family members wept openly. Daniel looked at Monica with a mixture of rage and something that might have been admiration. "You planned this whole thing." Monica's smile was colder than winter. "I learned from the best. You taught me how to lie." As security tried to cut the power to the screen, Monica smiled into the microphone. "Oh, but that's not even the best part." Daniel, Honey, should I tell them about the money? Or would you prefer to explain to the FBI agents standing by the door? The federal agents weren't guests at the party. They were Monica's insurance policy, waiting for her signal to make the arrest that would change everything. The room went silent as Monica's voice rang out over the microphone. Before we toast to 5 years of marriage, let me show you what my husband's been doing behind my back. 200 faces turned toward the massive screen as intimate footage played in crystal clear detail. Champagne glasses froze halfway to lips, conversations died mid-sentence, and the only sound was the audio of Daniel's voice promising Sarah things he'd never said to his wife. The Houston ballroom, which moments before had buzzed with celebration, now felt like a courtroom where judgment was being passed in real time. Monica stood at the center of it all, crimson dress catching the light like blood, microphone steady in her hand as she watched 5 years of lies crumble before 200 witnesses. Daniel's business partner, James Crawford, tried to slip toward the... On the massive screen, bank statements scrolled past like evidence in a murder trial. $30 million in dirty money, traced through shell companies and offshore accounts. Every transaction documented, every lie exposed. Ladies and gentlemen, Monica continued, voice carrying over the shocked murmurs, you've been investing in a criminal enterprise. Every profit Daniel promised you came from drug cartels washing blood money through Texas real estate. The panic that followed was immediate and total. Investors who had trusted Daniel with their retirement funds realized they might be accessories to federal crimes. City officials who had posed for photos with him calculated how quickly they could issue statements of condemnation. Sarah Mitchell pushed through the crowd like a woman drowning, mascara streaking down her cheeks as she fought toward the ballroom exit. But Monica wasn't finished with her yet. Sarah, don't leave, Monica called out sweetly. You're the guest of honor. The screen changed again. This time, surveillance footage of Sarah entering the Houston bank with briefcases, meeting with known cartel associates, signing documents that would send her to federal prison for 20 years. Would you have done what Monica did? Was it justice or revenge? Let me know in the comments what you think about public exposure. Agent Rodriguez stepped forward, badge gleaming under the crystal chandeliers. Daniel Williams, you're under arrest for money laundering, conspiracy to commit federal crimes, and violation of the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. The handcuffs clicked around Daniel's wrists with the finality of a coffin closing. Around them, chaos erupted like a dam bursting. Guests stampeded toward exits. Reporters materialized from nowhere with cameras and microphones. Family members stood frozen in shock. Daniel's mother, elegant in her designer gown, stared at her son like she was seeing a stranger. Danny, what is this? What has she done to you? What has she done? Monica laughed, the sound sharp enough to cut glass. Your son stole $30 million from drug cartels. I just made sure everyone knew about it. Daniel looked at Monica with a mixture of rage and something that might have been respect. You set me up. This whole party was a trap. You set yourself up, Monica replied coldly. I just provided the stage. The federal agents weren't guests at the party. They were Monica's insurance policy, waiting for her signal to make the arrest that would change everything. As they led Daniel away in handcuffs, he turned back one final time. You think you've won? You have no idea what you started. I've started telling the truth, Monica said. Something you apparently forgot how to do. Sarah tried one more time to reach the exit, but Agent Martinez was waiting with a second pair of handcuffs. Sarah Mitchell, you're under arrest as a co-conspirator in a federal money laundering operation. Sarah's legs gave out. 2 agents caught her arms as she collapsed, the weight of 20 years in federal prison hitting her like a physical blow. The ballroom that had hosted their wedding reception 5 years ago now hosted the destruction of everything they built together. Ice sculptures melted into puddles. Untouched champagne went flat, and flower arrangements wilted under the heat of television lights as news crews arrived to document the downfall of Dallas's golden couple. Monica's phone buzzed with text messages from friends, reporters, lawyers. Everyone wanted to know how she'd planned it, how long she'd known, whether she was in on the crimes. This story keeps getting crazier. subscribe, and tell your friends about this incredible true story. Agent Rodriguez approached as the crowd finally thinned, most guests having fled to avoid association with the scandal. Outstanding work, Mrs. Williams. The recordings you provided will ensure conviction on all charges. Monica nodded, suddenly exhausted. The adrenaline that had carried her through months of planning was draining away, leaving her hollow. What happens now? Asset forfeiture proceedings begin immediately. The house, cars, bank accounts, everything purchased with dirty money gets seized. You'll need to prove legitimate ownership of anything you want to keep. Everything they'd built together would disappear. 5 years of marriage, reduced to evidence in federal court. And the investigation? Ongoing. Your husband's operation was bigger than we initially suspected. We'll be arresting associates, seizing properties, unraveling the entire network. Monica looked around the devastated ballroom. Broken champagne glasses littered the floor, abandoned purses and jackets marked hasty departures, and the massive screen still displayed bank records that would destroy dozens of lives. She had won. Daniel would spend the next 20 years in federal prison. Sarah would face the same fate, and everyone who had enabled their crimes would face justice. So why did victory feel so much like grief? Mrs. Williams? Agent Rodriguez was studying her with concern. You did the right thing. These people were criminals. I know, Monica said quietly. It's just 5 years of my life were built on lies. Everything I thought I knew was false. The morning after brought silence louder than the chaos, and Monica realized that winning the war didn't heal the wounds that started it. As they led Daniel away in handcuffs, he looked back at Monica with a mixture of rage and something that might have been admiration. You planned this whole thing, he said. Monica's response cut deeper than any scream. I learned from the best. You taught me how to lie. The ballroom emptied slowly, like a theater after a tragic play. Monica stood alone among the ruins of her marriage, still wearing the red dress that had started everything, still holding the microphone that had ended it. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. Lawyers, asset forfeiture, media interviews, rebuilding a life from the ashes of betrayal. But tonight, she had one moment of perfect clarity. She was free. The FBI agents weren't guests of the party. They were Monica's insurance policy, waiting for her signal to make the arrest that would change everything. Badge and handcuffs gleamed under the ballroom's crystal chandeliers as Agent Rodriguez stepped forward, his voice cutting through the shocked silence like a blade through silk. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. Federal agents are conducting lawful arrests. No one is in danger, but everyone was in danger. Every investor who had trusted Daniel, every business partner who had ignored red flags, every politician who had posed for photos with Dallas's golden couple. All of them now faced potential federal investigation. The chaos that followed was biblical. 200 guests pushed toward exits that suddenly seemed too small, too far away. Designer gowns tore in the crush. Expensive shoes were abandoned, and the cream of Dallas society transformed into a panicked mob. Daniel stood frozen in handcuffs, watching his carefully constructed world collapse in real time. His tuxedo, which had made him look like a movie star an hour ago, now made him look like a criminal trying to dress above his station. Monica watched it all with cold satisfaction. Every scream, every desperate phone call, every family member realizing their golden boy was a federal felon. It was better than Christmas morning. Sarah Mitchell fought through the crowd like a woman possessed, mascara streaking down her cheeks as she clawed toward the exit. But Agent Martinez was waiting with handcuffs and a smile that promised 20 years in federal prison. Sarah Mitchell, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit money laundering, tax evasion, and violation of federal banking laws. Sarah's knees buckled. 2 agents caught her arms as she collapsed, the weight of her crimes finally catching up to her designer heels and stolen jewelry. I want a lawyer, she gasped, voice barely audible over the chaos. You'll get one, Agent Martinez replied. Right after processing, Monica felt a surge of satisfaction watching Sarah's arrest. The woman who had shared her husband's bed would now share a federal holding cell. Justice had a sense of humor after all. Monica went from victim to mastermind. What do you think about her methods? Too far or perfectly justified? Daniel's parents pushed through the crowd, his father's face red with rage and humiliation. "What have you done to our son?" his mother demanded, pointing a shaking finger at Monica. "I told the truth," Monica replied calmly. "Something your son apparently never learned to do. He's a good man, a successful businessman. He's a criminal," Agent Rodriguez interrupted, holding up the arrest warrant. "Your son has been under federal investigation for 18 months. Mrs. Williams cooperated with law enforcement to gather evidence. The revelation hit Daniel's family like a second explosion. Their daughter-in-law hadn't just discovered the crimes. She had helped build the case that would destroy their son. "You betrayed him," Daniel's father snarled. "Your own husband. He betrayed himself," Monica shot back. "And me, and every person who trusted him." The local news crews arrived like vultures sensing carrion. Camera lights blazed to life, transforming the elegant ballroom into a media circus. Reporters shoved microphones toward fleeing guests, desperate for quotes about the downfall of Dallas's power couple. Monica found herself surrounded by cameras and questions. "Mrs. Williams, how long have you known about your husband's crimes? Did you profit from the money laundering operation? Are you filing for divorce?" Agent Rodriguez stepped protectively in front of Monica. "Mrs. Williams will not be making statements at this time. All questions should be directed to the FBI press office. This story keeps getting crazier. Subscribe and tell your friends about this incredible true story." As federal agents led Daniel toward the ballroom exit, he turned back one final time. The man who had charmed rooms full of investors, who had built a real estate empire, who had convinced everyone he was untouchable, now looked like exactly what he was, a common criminal caught red-handed. "This isn't over, Monica," he said, voice carrying despite the chaos. "You have no idea what you've started." "I've started telling the truth," Monica replied, voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Something you apparently forgot how to do." "The cartels don't forgive debts," Daniel continued, desperation creeping into his voice. "You think putting me in prison protects you? It makes you a target." Agent Rodriguez stepped forward. "Mr. Williams, any threats against cooperating witnesses will be added to your charges." But Daniel's words sent ice through Monica's veins. In her focus on destroying his life, she hadn't considered that his criminal associates might blame her for disrupting their money laundering operation. $30 million in dirty money, now frozen in federal accounts. Cartel profits trapped in legal limbo while their American contact sat in federal custody. Someone would want revenge. Crawford, Daniel's business partner, tried one last desperate escape attempt. He pushed through the crowd toward the kitchen service entrance, but federal agents were everywhere. They tackled him beside the melting ice sculptures, handcuffs clicking as his face pressed against the marble floor. "James Crawford, you're under arrest for conspiracy, money laundering, and racketeering." 3 arrests in one night. Monica's anniversary party had become the largest federal bust in Dallas history. As the ballroom finally emptied, Monica stood alone among the ruins. Broken champagne glasses caught the remaining light like scattered diamonds. Abandoned purses and jewelry marked the hasty retreat of guests who wanted no association with federal crimes. The massive screen still displayed bank records, frozen on a transaction that showed $5 million moving from a Houston account to a Cayman Island shell company. Evidence that would ensure Daniel spent the next 20 years in federal prison. Monica's phone buzzed constantly. Lawyers, reporters, friends who claimed they'd always suspected something was wrong. Everyone wanted to be associated with the hero who had brought down a criminal empire. But as she walked through the devastated ballroom in her red dress, past wilted flowers and overturned chairs, Monica felt something she hadn't expected. Loneliness. The knock on her door came at sunset. Monica expected another reporter, but instead found Sarah standing there, mascara streaked and hands shaking. "We need to talk," Sarah said, voice barely above a whisper. "There's something about Daniel you still don't know. Something that changes everything." The morning after brought silence louder than the chaos, and Monica realized that winning the war didn't heal the wounds that started it. Sunlight streamed through the mansion's windows, illuminating dust motes that danced like her shattered dreams. Beautiful in the light, but impossible to catch. The house felt different now, hollow and cold despite the Texas heat building outside. Monica sat at her kitchen island with black coffee and yesterday's newspaper spread before her. Headlines screamed about the Dallas money laundering scandal and Society Wife brings down criminal empire. Her photograph dominated every front page, sometimes beside Daniel's mugshot, sometimes alone. The woman in those photos looked confident, powerful, victorious. The woman drinking coffee in an empty mansion felt like she was drowning. Her phone hadn't stopped buzzing since 6 a.m. Reporters wanting interviews, lawyers offering services, producers asking about movie rights. Everyone wanted a piece of Monica's story, but none of them wanted to know how it felt to discover that 5 years of your life were built on lies. The doorbell rang at 8 sharp. Monica peered through the security monitor and saw her mother standing on the front steps, suitcase in hand, worry creasing her face. "Baby girl," her mother said when Monica opened the door. "I caught the first flight from Atlanta." They hugged in the foyer surrounded by federal evidence tags. The government had seized most of the valuable items, paintings, sculptures, jewelry, anything purchased with dirty money. What remained felt like a museum of her former life. "I can't believe Daniel did this to you," her mother said, studying the empty walls where expensive art once hung. "I can't believe I never suspected," Monica replied. 5 years, Mama. 5 years of living with a stranger. They sat together on the one couch the FBI hadn't seized, the old sectional from Monica's apartment before she married Daniel. It looked absurd in the mansion's grand living room, but it was real, purchased with Monica's legitimate marketing salary. After a major betrayal and revenge, how do you rebuild? What would your next step be? Share your thoughts on healing after betrayal. "You did the right thing," her mother said firmly. "That man was a criminal." "I know, but it doesn't make it hurt less." The local news played on mute, showing footage from last night's arrests. Daniel being led away in handcuffs, Sarah collapsing as federal agents read her rights, guests fleeing the ballroom like refugees from a war zone. Monica's lawyer arrived at 10, carrying briefcases full of documents that would determine her financial future. "The asset forfeiture hearing is scheduled for next week," he explained, spreading papers across the dining room table. "You'll need to prove legitimate ownership of anything you want to keep." Monica looked around the mansion that had been her dream home. Marble countertops, crystal chandeliers, a swimming pool that cost more than most people's houses. All of it paid for with blood money. "I don't want any of it," she said quietly. Her lawyer looked shocked. "Mrs. Williams, some of these assets could be worth millions. Your prenup protects certain properties." I said I don't want it. Monica's voice was steel. "Every piece of furniture, every expensive gadget, every luxury car, it's all tainted. I want a clean start." Monica's journey is far from over. Make sure you're subscribed to see how she rebuilds. By noon, the mansion was crawling with federal agents, conducting a final sweep for evidence. They photographed every room, cataloged every possession, and prepared to seize anything connected to Daniel's crimes. Monica packed a single suitcase with clothes and personal items, things that predated her marriage, that belonged to the woman she was before Daniel Williams entered her life. Agent Rodriguez found her in the bedroom, folding clothes that suddenly seemed too expensive, too luxurious for the person she wanted to become. "Where will you go?" he asked. "My mother has a house in Atlanta. I'll stay there while I figure things out. The media attention will be intense for a while. You might want to consider changing your name. Monica Chun Williams." She'd hyphenated when they married, keeping part of her identity while taking his. Now, the Williams part felt like a curse. "I'm going back to Monica Chun," she said. "Just Monica Chun." Her phone rang as she zipped the suitcase. Unknown number, but the voice was familiar. "Monica, this is Sarah." Monica's blood turned to ice. "You're supposed to be in federal custody. I made bail. We need to talk. There's something about Daniel you still don't know." The line went dead before Monica could respond. Agent Rodriguez was beside her instantly. "Who was that?" "Sarah Mitchell. She says there's something else about Daniel." Agent Rodriguez's expression hardened. "She's not supposed to contact you. That's witness intimidation." But Monica's mind was racing. What else could there be? They'd exposed the money laundering, the affair, the federal crimes. What secret was worth risking additional charges? That evening, as federal agents finished their sweep and placed government seals on the mansion doors, Monica stood in the driveway beside her mother's rental car. 5 years ago, she'd walked up these same steps as Daniel's bride, believing in forever and fairy tales. Now she was leaving as a federal witness, her marriage destroyed, her trust shattered, her future uncertain. The knock on her door came at sunset. Monica expected another reporter, but instead found Sarah standing there, mascara streaked and hands shaking. "We need to talk," Sarah said, voice barely above a whisper. "There's something about Daniel you still don't know, something that changes everything." Monica stared at the woman who had helped destroy her marriage, who now stood free on bail while facing 20 years in federal prison. "You have 5 minutes," Monica said, stepping aside to let her former friend enter the empty house one final time. Sarah's confession revealed that Monica wasn't Daniel's only victim. She was just the only one brave enough to fight back. Rain pelted the windows as Sarah's words poured out like a confession, each revelation washing away another layer of the life Monica thought she'd known. They sat in the empty living room where Monica had first discovered Daniel's betrayal, surrounded by federal evidence tags and the ghosts of 5 years' worth of lies. "You think this started with us," Sarah said, hands shaking as she spoke. "The affair, the money laundering. But Monica, Daniel's been doing this for years. With other women, other operations." Monica felt the familiar ice in her chest. "Other women? 3 that I know of. Maybe more." Sarah pulled out her phone, scrolling through photos with trembling fingers. Jennifer in Austin, Maria in Houston, Catherine in San Antonio. All marketing professionals, all recruited for his operations. The photos showed beautiful women at expensive restaurants, wearing jewelry Monica recognized as identical to pieces Daniel had given her. The same necklaces, the same bracelets, the same lies packaged in different boxes. "He has a type," Sarah continued. "Successful women in marketing or PR, women who could help legitimize his business image. Women who would be believable as his girlfriend or wife." Monica's stomach turned. "You're saying I was recruited?" "We all were." "That conference in Miami where you met? Daniel was there specifically to find someone like you. Someone smart enough to be useful, trusting enough to be controlled." The room spun slightly. Monica gripped the edge of the couch, the only furniture the FBI hadn't seized, and tried to process what Sarah was telling her. Their entire relationship was a lie. Not just the marriage, not just the last 5 years, but from the very beginning. Their meet-cute story, their instant connection, their whirlwind romance. All of it had been a calculated con job. Could you forgive someone who helped destroy your life if you learned they were also a victim? Where do you draw the line between accountability and compassion? "Why are you telling me this?" Monica asked. Sarah's face crumpled. "Because my lawyer says cooperation might reduce my sentence. Because the FBI wants information about the other operations. And because..." She paused, wiping tears from her cheeks. "Because you deserve to know that none of this was your fault." Monica laughed bitterly. 5 years of marriage, and none of it was real. The Daniel you fell in love with doesn't exist. He's a character, a role he plays to manipulate women into helping him. Jennifer laundered money through her Austin PR firm for 2 years before she figured it out. Maria helped him buy properties in Houston using her real estate license. Catherine gave him access to her family's legitimate businesses in San Antonio. What happened to them? Sarah's silence was answer enough. Monica's blood chilled. "Sarah, what happened to the other women?" Jennifer died in a car accident 6 months after she threatened to expose him. Maria overdosed on drugs she'd never used before. Catherine disappeared completely, vanished from her apartment one night, never seen again. The implications hit Monica like a physical blow. Daniel wasn't just a money launderer. He was a killer. You think he murdered them? I think women who threaten Daniel Williams don't live long enough to testify. This emotional journey isn't over. Subscribe to see how Monica finds peace. Monica stood up abruptly, pacing to the window where rain streaked the glass like tears. Why didn't you tell me this before? Why wait until after the arrest? Because I was terrified. Daniel told me what happened to the others. Said if I ever tried to leave or expose him, I'd end up like Jennifer. So you stayed and helped him commit federal crimes. I stayed and tried to survive. Sarah's voice broke completely. Monica, I know you hate me. I know what we did was unforgivable. But I need you to understand, we were all victims. You were just the first one strong enough to fight back. Monica turned to study Sarah's face, looking for lies, for manipulation, for any sign that this was another con. But all she saw was exhaustion and terror and something that looked like genuine remorse. The FBI needs to know about the other women, Monica said finally. I already told them. That's why they let me make bail. I'm cooperating fully. Names, dates, locations, everything I know about Daniel's pattern. And the cartels? Sarah's face went pale. That's the other thing. Daniel owes them $30 million. Money that's now frozen in federal accounts. They're not going to write that off as a business loss. The ice in Monica's chest spread to her limbs. You're saying they'll come after me. I'm saying you exposed their American operation and cost them $30 million. What do you think they'll do? Monica sank back onto the couch, mind racing. She'd thought destroying Daniel was the end of her war, but it was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, violent criminals were calculating revenge against the woman who had disrupted their money laundering operation. Agent Rodriguez said they'd provide protection. Rodriguez is FBI, Sarah interrupted. He investigates white-collar crime. These people cut off heads and leave them in public squares. You think witness protection is going to stop them? The rain outside intensified, matching the storm building in Monica's chest. She had won the battle against Daniel, but the war was far from over. As Sarah prepared to leave, she turned back one final time. Monica, there's something else. The money Daniel stole, it wasn't just from investors. Some of it was meant for your mother's medical treatment 5 years ago. He let you believe insurance covered it. Monica's knees went weak as the final piece of his betrayal clicked into place. Her mother's cancer treatment, the bills that had mysteriously disappeared, Daniel's explanation about insurance corrections. All lies. He had stolen money intended to save her mother's life, then played the hero by helping with expenses that shouldn't have existed. Get out, Monica whispered, rage building like pressure in a volcano. Monica! Get out! Sarah fled, leaving Monica alone with the devastating truth. Her entire relationship with Daniel was a lie. Her mother's medical bills had been paid with stolen money. And somewhere in Mexico, dangerous people were planning revenge against the woman who had cost them $30 million. The knock on her door came at sunset, but this time Monica knew exactly who it was and what they wanted. The real war was just beginning. Testifying against your husband in federal court requires a special kind of strength, the kind that grows from ashes of trust burned to the ground. The federal courthouse loomed like a monument to justice, its stone columns casting long shadows that reminded Monica of prison bars, which is exactly where Daniel belonged. 3 months had passed since the anniversary party that destroyed her marriage and exposed a criminal empire. 3 months of lawyers, depositions, and sleepless nights in her mother's Atlanta guest bedroom, trying to rebuild a life from the ruins of betrayal. Agent Rodriguez met Monica at the courthouse steps, his expression grim despite their victory. Ready for this? He asked, studying her face for signs of weakness. Monica wore a navy blue suit, professional, serious, credible. The kind of outfit that said trustworthy witness rather than vengeful ex-wife. Her testimony would determine whether Daniel spent 20 years or life in federal prison. I've been ready since the night I found that video, she replied. The prosecution team had prepared her well. Hours of practice sessions, mock cross-examinations, coaching on how to handle Daniel's defense attorneys. They would try to paint her as a bitter wife seeking revenge, a woman scorned who fabricated evidence. They had no idea who they were dealing with. Remember, Prosecutor Sarah Kim said as they entered the building, "Stick to the facts. Don't let them provoke you. Daniel's lawyers will try to make you lose your temper." Monica smiled coldly. "They can try." The courthouse buzzed with activity. Reporters clustered around metal detectors, hoping for quotes. Sketch artists sharpened pencils. Daniel's family sat stone-faced in the gallery, still believing their golden boy was innocent. How do you prepare to face someone who destroyed your trust in front of a room full of strangers? Have you ever had to testify against someone you loved? Monica's testimony was scheduled for day 3 of the trial. She'd watched from the gallery as other witnesses took the stand. FBI agents presenting financial evidence, Crawford breaking down as he described the cartel connections, Sarah Mitchell's emotional confession about the other women Daniel had used and possibly murdered. Each piece of testimony built a devastating case against the man Monica had once planned to have children with. Daniel sat at the defense table in an expensive suit his parents had paid for, looking every inch the successful businessman he'd pretended to be. Only Monica could see the desperation beneath his confident facade, the fear eating him alive from the inside. Their eyes met across the courtroom once. Daniel's expression was unreadable, but Monica saw the message clearly. "You did this to me." Monica's silent response was equally clear. "You did this to yourself." The night before her testimony, Monica stayed awake reviewing her notes one final time. Financial records, recorded conversations, timeline of events. 5 years of marriage reduced to evidence in federal court. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Some secrets are worth dying for. Others are worth killing for. Choose wisely tomorrow." Monica's about to face her biggest challenge yet. Make sure you're subscribed. Monica screenshot the message and forwarded it to Agent Rodriguez. Within an hour, federal marshals were stationed outside her hotel room and courthouse security was doubled. "Probably Daniel's associates," Rodriguez explained. "They're getting desperate as the case builds against him." But Monica wasn't afraid. She'd already lost everything that mattered: her marriage, her trust, her sense of safety. A few threats weren't going to stop her from telling the truth. The morning of her testimony arrived gray and overcast, Atlanta's sky matching Monica's mood. She dressed carefully, applied minimal makeup, and studied her reflection one final time. The woman in the mirror looked different from the naive bride who'd trusted blindly 5 years ago. This woman had survived betrayal, federal investigations, and death threats. This woman had teeth. At the courthouse, Monica walked through metal detectors surrounded by federal marshals. Daniel's supporters filled half the gallery. Family members, business associates who still believed in his innocence. The other half was packed with FBI agents, prosecutors, and reporters documenting the downfall of Dallas's golden couple. Monica took her place in the witness box, right hand raised, voice steady as she swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Prosecutor Kim approached with a gentle smile. "Mrs. Chun, please tell the court how you first discovered your husband's criminal activities." And Monica began to speak. She told them about the security camera meant to catch a careless housekeeper, about discovering Daniel's affair with Sarah Mitchell, about the private investigator who uncovered financial crimes that made adultery look trivial. Her voice never wavered as she described the months of recording conversations, gathering evidence, cooperating with federal agents to build the case that would destroy the man she'd once loved. The jury listened with rapt attention as Monica detailed Daniel's pattern of recruitment, manipulation, and murder. How he targeted successful women, used them for his operations, then eliminated them when they became threats. "And what made you decide to cooperate with law enforcement?" Kim asked. Monica looked directly at Daniel, sitting frozen at the defense table. "I realized that my husband wasn't just a criminal. He was a predator, and predators don't stop until someone stops them." The night before her testimony, Monica received an anonymous letter slipped under her door. Inside, just 5 words that made her blood run cold. "You don't know everything yet." Someone was still playing games, and Monica was about to discover that Daniel's arrest was just the beginning. She walked into that courtroom not as Daniel's victim, but as the architect of his downfall, and everyone in the room could feel the shift in power. The courtroom's mahogany panels seemed to absorb sound as Monica's voice rang clear and strong, each word landing like a gavel strike against Daniel's defense. Prosecutor Kim continued her questioning, building systematically through 5 years of lies and crimes. Monica answered each question with devastating precision, backed by recordings, documents, and evidence that Daniel's team couldn't challenge. Mrs. Chun, did your husband ever discuss his business relationships with Mexican cartels? Yes. I recorded several conversations where he mentioned moving money for clients from Guadalajara and ensuring product shipments weren't traced back to Texas properties. Daniel's defense attorney, Marcus Webb, jumped to his feet. Objection. Hearsay. Sustained. Judge Harrison ruled. The jury will disregard. But the damage was done. Everyone in the courtroom had heard about cartel connections, even if they were supposed to ignore it. Monica spent 3 hours on direct examination, methodically destroying her husband's credibility. She presented evidence with the calm professionalism of the marketing executive she'd been before Daniel Williams destroyed her life. Then came cross-examination. Webb approached like a shark sensing blood, confident smile, suggesting he could break Monica's composure and expose her as a vengeful wife seeking revenge. He was about to learn better. Mrs. Chun, isn't it true that you orchestrated this elaborate scheme because you discovered your husband was having an affair? Monica met his gaze steadily. I orchestrated nothing, Mr. Webb. I simply documented crimes my husband was already committing. You secretly recorded conversations without his knowledge. I cooperated with federal law enforcement to gather evidence of ongoing criminal activity. Webb tried again, voice growing aggressive. You planned that anniversary party specifically to humiliate your husband in front of his friends and family. I planned that party to expose a criminal who was stealing money from drug cartels and murdering women who threatened him. Monica stood up for herself and other victims. Whenever you had to find your voice in a difficult situation, share your courage story below. The attorney's confidence wavered slightly. Monica wasn't breaking down, wasn't showing the emotional instability he'd hoped to exploit. Mrs. Chun, how much money did you personally receive from your husband's alleged criminal activities? Every penny I spent during our marriage came from illegal sources. I've returned everything: the house, cars, jewelry, bank accounts. I walked away with one suitcase and my integrity. Webb pressed harder, trying to find weakness. Isn't it convenient that you discovered all this evidence just as your marriage was falling apart? Monica's eyes flashed with steel. Mr. Webb, I discovered my husband was a criminal because he got careless. I exposed him because women were dying. If you want to call justice convenient, that says more about you than me. The courtroom fell silent. Even Judge Harrison looked impressed by Monica's composure under attack. Webb tried one final gambit. Mrs. Chun, you claim to have loved your husband. How can the jury believe you're telling the truth about a man you claim to have loved? Monica was quiet for a long moment, considering her answer. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of 5 years' worth of shattered dreams. I did love him, Mr. Webb. I loved the man I thought he was. But that man never existed. Daniel Williams is a character my husband played to manipulate me. The real man, the criminal sitting at that table. I never loved him because I never knew him. This courtroom drama is incredible. Subscribe and share this story with someone who needs to see strength in action. Webb had no response. He returned to his table, unsuccessful in his attempt to discredit the star witness. As Monica finished her testimony, Daniel's lawyer whispered urgently in his ear. Daniel's face went white, and he looked directly at Monica with something new in his eyes: fear. Not fear of prison, but fear of something or someone else entirely. During a brief recess, Agent Rodriguez pulled Monica aside. Outstanding testimony. Webb couldn't lay a glove on you. What was that about at the end? Daniel looked terrified. Rodriguez's expression darkened. We intercepted communications suggesting cartel associates are planning to eliminate anyone connected to their frozen assets. Daniel just realized that his arrest put a target on everyone involved. Monica felt ice form in her chest. Including me. Especially you. You're the reason $30 million is locked in federal accounts instead of flowing to Mexico. That evening, Monica returned to her hotel under federal protection. Marshals stationed themselves in the hallway while she tried to process the day's events. Her testimony had been devastating. Daniel's defense was crumbling. Justice was within reach. But somewhere in Mexico, dangerous people were planning revenge against the woman who had cost them $30 million. Monica's phone buzzed with a text from another unknown number. Beautiful testimony today. Your mother's address in Atlanta is 1247 Peachtree Street, correct? Monica's blood turned to ice. They weren't just threatening her, they were threatening her mother. She forwarded the message to Rodriguez immediately. Within minutes, federal agents were dispatched to Atlanta to protect her mother. This is escalating, Rodriguez said when he called. They're getting desperate. Can you stop them? We're trying. But these people have resources, connections, experience with violence. They don't play by rules. Monica stared out her hotel window at the Atlanta skyline, lights twinkling like stars against the darkness. Somewhere out there, killers were planning her death. But she'd come too far back down now. The next morning brought news that changed everything. Daniel's business partner Crawford had been found dead in his federal holding cell. Apparent suicide by hanging. Except Crawford had been on suicide watch, under constant monitoring. Federal prisoners don't usually manage to hang themselves with bed sheets that are supposed to be removed. Message is clear, Rodriguez explained grimly. Cooperate with law enforcement, end up dead. Are you saying they killed him in federal custody? I'm saying cartels have long arms and deeper pockets than we'd like to admit. As sirens wailed in the distance and her final enemy was led away, Monica realized something profound. She wasn't the same woman who'd pressed play on that security footage months ago. That woman had been broken by betrayal. This woman had been forged by fire, tempered by truth, and made unbreakable by justice. The war wasn't over yet, but Monica Chun was ready for whatever came next. Monica thought destroying Daniel was the end of her war, but someone else had been watching from the shadows, and now they wanted their turn to play. The parking garage echoed with Monica's heels as she walked to her car, shadows shifting between concrete pillars like predators waiting to strike. Federal marshals flanked her on both sides, eyes scanning every corner for threats. Crawford's death had changed everything. If cartels could eliminate a federal witness inside a maximum security prison, nowhere was truly safe. Mrs. Chun, we're recommending immediate relocation, Marshal Torres said as they reached a rental car. New identity, witness protection, complete separation from your previous life. Monica stopped walking. You want me to disappear? We want you to live. She thought about her mother in Atlanta, her few remaining friends, the foundation she'd planned to start for women escaping abusive relationships. Running meant abandoning everything she'd fought to rebuild. How long would I have to stay hidden? Torres exchanged glances with his partner. These organizations don't forget debts, Mrs. Chun. $30 million is enough to motivate them for decades. Decades. Monica was 32 years old. They were asking her to spend the rest of her life looking over her shoulder, changing names like changing clothes, never forming lasting relationships or building anything permanent. There has to be another way. There is, Torres said grimly. But you won't like it. When you stand up to one bully, sometimes others come out of the woodwork. Have you ever faced escalating threats for doing the right thing? Back at the hotel, Monica spread the options across her bed like a hand of cards in a deadly game. Witness protection offered safety, but meant living as a ghost. Staying meant fighting an enemy with unlimited resources and no moral boundaries. The third option was the most dangerous, going on offense. Agent Rodriguez arrived with a file folder thick enough to stop bullets. Intelligence reports on the Guadalajara organization, their structure, leadership, business operations. Monica studied photographs of men who looked like successful businessmen. Clean-shaven faces, expensive suits, kind eyes that had ordered countless murders. Miguel Santos, Rodriguez pointed to a distinguished man in his 50s. He runs the American money laundering operations. Daniel was his golden goose, processing more dirty money than anyone else in Texas. And now his golden goose is in federal prison. Worse, his golden goose's wife cost him $30 million and exposed his entire American network. Santos has authorized a bounty on your head. Monica stared at Santos's photograph. Somewhere in Mexico, this grandfather-looking man was planning her death with the same casual efficiency he might use to plan a family barbecue. How much is the bounty? $5 million. Dead or alive, but preferably dead after significant suffering. $5 million. More money than most people saw in a lifetime, offered for ending hers. What about the offensive option you mentioned? Rodriguez hesitated. Santos is traveling to Houston next week for damage control meetings. He wants to personally oversee the elimination of witnesses and restructure his American operations. You want to arrest him on American soil. We want to use you as bait. Monica's not giving up, and neither should you. Subscribe to see how she handles this new threat. The plan was insane in its simplicity. Monica would surface publicly, making herself visible and vulnerable. Santos would come for her personally, unable to resist eliminating the woman who'd cost him millions. When he made his move, federal agents would be waiting. What are the odds I survive this? Monica asked. Honestly, about 50-50. These people are professionals. Monica walked to the hotel window, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere in those shadows, killers were already positioning themselves, waiting for their chance. She thought about the other women Daniel had manipulated and murdered. Jennifer, Maria, Catherine, all of them silenced because they'd threatened a criminal empire. All of them denied justice because they'd been too afraid to fight back. I'll do it, Monica said. Mrs. Chun, you should consider. I'll do it, she repeated firmly. But I have conditions. The meeting took place in a federal office building that looked like a fortress. Monica sat across from Assistant Director Patricia Walsh, the FBI's highest-ranking woman and the person who would authorize the operation. You understand the risks, Walsh said. If something goes wrong, you'll be dead before we can intervene. Understand. But if I spend the rest of my life hiding, I'm already dead. Just breathing. Walsh studied Monica with sharp eyes that had seen every type of criminal and victim. What do you want in return? Full immunity for any actions I take during the operation. Protection for my mother. And when this is over, I want help starting a foundation for women escaping situations like mine. Done. Anything else? Monica smiled for the first time in weeks. I want to choose the location. 3 days later, the news broke across every major network. Federal witness Monica Chun returns to Dallas Mansion, claims she's not afraid of cartel threats. The interviews were carefully orchestrated. Monica appeared confident, defiant, almost reckless in her dismissal of danger. She walked through her former home, now government property, pointing out rooms where Daniel had planned his crimes. Let them come, she told CNN's cameras. I've already lost everything that mattered. What more can they take? The bait was set. Within hours, intelligence reports showed unusual activity in Guadalajara. Private jets being fueled, weapons being purchased, teams of specialists receiving orders to travel north. Miguel Santos was coming to Texas personally, unable to resist the chance to eliminate the woman who destroyed his American empire. The note on her windshield was simple. Some secrets should stay buried. Stop digging or join Daniel. But as Monica crumpled the paper, she smiled grimly. Whoever was threatening her had made one crucial mistake. They'd underestimated a woman who'd already lost everything and discovered she was stronger without it. The final confrontation was coming, and Monica Chun was ready. Monica set the trap one more time, but this time she wasn't just fighting for justice. She was fighting for the right to live without fear. The abandoned warehouse where it all began, where Daniel had first met his business partners, now served as the stage for Monica's final performance. Federal agents had spent 3 days transforming the building into an elaborate snare. Hidden cameras monitored every angle, snipers positioned on surrounding rooftops, tactical teams stationed within striking distance. The warehouse looked empty and vulnerable, but it was actually the most protected square mile in Texas. Monica stood in the center of it all, wearing a bulletproof vest disguised as a fashionable jacket, knowing that somewhere in the shadows, killers were watching her every move. "Last chance to reconsider," Agent Rodriguez said through her nearly invisible earpiece. Santos's team arrived in Houston an hour ago. 6 vehicles, at least 20 men, enough firepower to level a city block. "Good," Monica replied, voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Let them come." She'd chosen this location deliberately. The warehouse held symbolic power, the place where Daniel had first betrayed everything she believed about him. Tonight, it would also be where she ended the threat that betrayal had created. Monica refused to be intimidated. What would you do if someone tried to silence you for telling the truth? How far would you go to protect your peace? The setup was perfect psychological theater. Monica had leaked information suggesting she was meeting with publishers about a tell-all book, that she possessed recordings implicating other cartel associates, that she was planning to expose the entire network. None of it was true, but Santos didn't know that. All he knew was that the woman who'd cost him $30 million was vulnerable, alone, and planning to cause even more damage. His pride wouldn't let him send subordinates for this job. He would come personally to eliminate the threat. Monica walked through the warehouse, footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. Moonlight streamed through broken windows, creating patches of silver light and deep shadow. To anyone watching, she looked isolated and exposed. In reality, she was the most protected person in Texas. Movement on the north perimeter, Rodriguez's voice crackled through her earpiece. 3 vehicles approaching. "This is it, Monica." Monica's pulse quickened, but her voice remained calm. "I'm ready." The warehouse doors exploded inward with a crash that shattered the silence. Armed men poured through the opening like water through a burst dam, weapons drawn, faces hidden behind tactical masks. Monica stood her ground in the center of the space, hands visible, showing no fear despite being outnumbered 20-1. Miguel Santos entered last, flanked by bodyguards who looked like they could bench press small cars. He was smaller than Monica had expected, distinguished in an expensive suit that probably cost more than most people's annual salary. "Mrs. Monica Chun," he said, voice carrying a slight accent and infinite menace. "You have caused me considerable inconvenience." "Good," Monica replied. "I was aiming for devastation." Santos smiled, but his eyes remained cold as winter. "You destroyed my American operation, cost me $30 million, eliminated my most productive associate. Your most productive associate was a murderer and a criminal. I did the world a favor, perhaps, but you also created a debt that must be paid. We're almost at the end of this incredible journey. Make sure you're subscribed to see how Monica's story concludes." Santos signaled to his men, who began spreading through the warehouse, checking corners and exits. Monica could hear the distant sound of helicopters, federal backup positioning themselves for the takedown. "You know what I find interesting?" Monica said, keeping Santos talking while agents moved into position. "Daniel thought he was so smart, playing all these women, stealing all that money. But he was just another puppet dancing to your tune." Santos's expression darkened. Daniel Williams was weak. He allowed emotion to compromise business. That is why he failed. Is that why you had Crawford killed in federal custody? Crawford was a necessary example. Others needed to understand the consequences of cooperation with law enforcement. There it was, confession to murder, recorded by the wire Monica wore and broadcast to federal agents surrounding the building. "And now you're here to kill me," Monica continued. "To make another example, I am here to close a chapter that should never have been written." Santos pulled a silver pistol from his jacket, pointing it directly at Monica's chest. Around them, his men raised their weapons, red laser dots dancing across the warehouse walls. "Any last words, Mrs. Chun?" Monica smiled, cold and sharp as broken glass. "Yes, you're under arrest." The warehouse erupted in chaos as federal agents burst through every entrance simultaneously. Flashbang grenades turned night into blazing day. Tactical teams swarmed through smoke and confusion, and the carefully planned trap snapped shut around Santos and his crew. FBI, drop your weapons. Gunfire echoed through the warehouse as Santos's men tried to fight their way out. But they were outnumbered, outgunned, and trapped in a kill box designed by the best tactical minds in federal law enforcement. Monica dove behind a concrete pillar as bullets sparked off metal and shattered glass. Her earpiece crackled with commands and status reports as federal agents systematically eliminated threats. Santos, pinned behind an overturned table, looked at Monica with something between rage and admiration. You planned this entire thing. I learned from the best, Monica shouted over the gunfire. My husband taught me how to set up elaborate cons. This will not end with my arrest. My organization, your organization, is finished. While you were focused on killing me, federal agents were raiding every property, freezing every account, and arresting every associate you have in America. Santos's face crumbled as he realized the scope of his defeat. The woman he'd come to eliminate had orchestrated the destruction of his entire American empire. The gunfire stopped as suddenly as it had begun. Smoke cleared to reveal Santos surrounded by federal agents, his men either dead or in custody, his American operation completely destroyed. As federal agents led Santos away in handcuffs, he looked back at Monica one final time. You have made enemies you cannot imagine. I've made enemies, Monica replied, but I've also made myself impossible to break. As sirens wailed in the distance and her final enemy was led away, Monica realized something profound. She wasn't the same woman who'd pressed play on that security footage months ago. That woman had been broken by betrayal. This woman had been forged by fire, tempered by truth, and made unbreakable by justice. 1 year later, Monica stood in front of a room full of women whose husbands, boyfriends, and partners had betrayed them, and she taught them the most important lesson of all. Revenge is temporary, but reclaiming your power lasts forever. The conference room buzzed with nervous energy as women of all ages took their seats, wedding rings absent from fingers that had once worn them proudly, strength present in eyes that had once held only tears. Monica looked out at faces that reflected her own journey. Pain transformed into purpose, betrayal transformed into wisdom, victims transformed into survivors. My name is Monica Chun, she began, voice carrying clearly through the room. 1 year ago, I discovered my husband was a criminal who had been using me for 5 years. Today, I want to tell you that your story doesn't end with betrayal. It begins there. The Chin Foundation for Women's Justice occupied 3 floors of a downtown Atlanta building, funded by the asset forfeiture proceeds from Daniel's criminal empire. Every dollar stolen from drug cartels now supported women escaping abusive relationships, provided legal aid for victims of financial fraud, and offered counseling for survivors of manipulation. Monica had taken the money meant to destroy lives and transformed it into something that saved them. How many of you have been told you're crazy for suspecting something was wrong? Monica asked the audience. Nearly every hand in the room went up. How many were told you were paranoid, jealous, or imagining things? The same hands remained raised, now trembling with recognition. You weren't crazy, Monica said firmly. You were paying attention. Trust that voice inside you that knows when something is wrong. Monica turned her pain into purpose. What would you do with a second chance at life? How would you help others who've faced similar betrayals? The foundation had grown beyond Monica's wildest dreams. 3 satellite offices in major cities, a 24-hour crisis hotline, legal partnerships with top firms willing to take pro bono cases against abusive spouses and criminal partners. But the most important work happened in rooms like this one, where women learned they weren't alone in their experiences. Mrs. Chun, a voice called from the audience. A young woman in her 20s, bruises barely concealed by makeup. What if you can't prove anything? What if nobody believes you? Monica's heart clenched with recognition. She'd been that woman once. Isolated, doubting herself, desperate for someone to validate her instincts. Then you document everything, Monica replied. Every lie, every inconsistency, every red flag. You build a case like your life depends on it, because it does. She pulled out her phone, showing the audience an app the foundation had developed. This encrypts recordings, stores documents in the cloud, and automatically shares evidence with trusted contacts if something happens to you. Technology had been Daniel's weakness. The security cameras that caught his affair, the financial records that prove his crimes. Monica had turned those same tools into weapons for women fighting their own battles. What about the fear? Another woman asked. The threats, the intimidation. Monica thought about Santos, now serving life in federal prison. About Daniel, who would spend the next 20 years behind bars. About Crawford, murdered for cooperating with law enforcement. Fear is normal, she said, but fear isn't permanent. You could be afraid and still act. You can be terrified and still fight back. The afternoon session focused on practical skills. How to hide money from controlling partners, how to document financial abuse, how to build escape plans that wouldn't be discovered. Monica watched women take notes with the intensity of students preparing for final exams. Because in many ways, they were final exams that would determine whether they survived or became another statistic. During the break, a woman approached Monica privately. She was elegant, well-dressed, the kind of woman who looked like she had everything under control. "My husband is a judge," she said quietly. "He's been taking bribes for years, but he's convinced everyone I'm mentally unstable. Who's going to believe me over a respected jurist?" Monica smiled grimly. 6 months ago, nobody would have believed a marketing executive over a successful real estate mogul either. Power isn't permanent. Truth is. If Monica's story inspired you to believe in your own strength, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. That evening, Monica walked through downtown Atlanta as the sun set over the city skyline. The foundation's building glowed with warm light, windows revealing women attending support groups, legal consultations, and skills workshops. Her phone buzzed with a text from Agent Rodriguez. Santos's appeal was denied. Life sentence is final. Thought you'd want to know. Monica smiled, typing back, "Good. Some people deserve cages." She'd never remarried. Not because she couldn't trust again, but because she'd learned something more valuable than love. She'd learned how to trust herself. The foundation had introduced her to good men. Lawyers who fought for justice, agents who protected victims, advocates who believed in second chances. But Monica had discovered that she didn't need someone else to complete her story. She was complete on her own. Share this video with someone who needs to remember they're stronger than they know. Her mother called as Monica reached her apartment, a modest place that she'd furnished with her own money, earned through legitimate work. "Baby girl, I saw the news about the foundation's expansion. 3 more cities next year. Houston, Dallas, and Miami," Monica confirmed. "Places where Daniel operated, where other women need help. Your daddy would be proud," her mother said softly, taking something meant to hurt people and using it to heal them instead. Monica looked out her apartment window at the city lights spreading like stars across the darkness. Somewhere out there, women were discovering betrayals that would shatter their worlds. Tomorrow, some of them would call the Foundation's hotline and begin the journey from victim to survivor. Monica never remarried, the narrator would say years later, not because she couldn't trust again, but because she learned something more valuable than love. She learned how to trust herself. And in a world full of people who will betray you, that might be the most powerful lesson of all. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that you're stronger than you know, share it with someone who needs to hear that truth. Subscribe for more stories that prove ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they refuse to stay silent. Remember, your story doesn't end with betrayal. That's where it begins.